Welcome back in. You're watching Mean Streets live on Game Plus Network here on our FTN YouTube page. Chris Meaney as we bring in Nelson Sousa, the franchise 12 on the Twitter machine, one of the best high-stakes players in the game. I am not over-exaggerating. You came on here last year, dude, and we talked a lot about some of your fades and some of your landmines and your strategy here in high-stakes fantasy football leagues. And I said off the top of the show, drafts are happening right now. It's never too early to kind of touch on this. You have an article live over at ftnfantasy.com talking about some of those fades, which I want to talk to you about right now, share some of the goods with the people. You also have rankings on there as well. Sousa, what's going on, man? Welcome into the Mean Streets on Game Plus.
How's it going, Chris? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. Do you want to talk about the Bruins now? You got some excitement last night, forced to Game 7? I didn't know that you were a Bruins guy. I should have known. I know that you're a Tom Brady guy. You got 12 on your Twitter handle, and you're a big Pats guy. But Boston forced to Game 7 last night. They're going to have to find a way to win one and rally, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to buck the trend because it's been the home team dominating in this series, but
it really has.
I don't know. I think they have a talented team, and we'll see if they can. I think if they beat Carolina, I think that's going to give them a lot of momentum, and I think they have a shot to make it to the Stanley Cup. But obviously, that's a biased opinion.
Maybe a little bit. I did have the Bruins winning in 7 in this series, so you're not alone. We'll see if we can get that, but I agree. I think they could make easy work of the Pens or the Rangers if it does happen. But you're right. There's so much experience on the squad. I think they do too. Yeah. It's the experience factor for me is why I gave them the benefit of the doubt against Carolina. Again, they have to, find a way to win a game in Carolina, but the experience up and down that lineup is pretty spectacular. With Patrice Bergeron, would it be his last game in Boston in Game 7 if they lost? I don't think so. I think that he certainly has a couple more years left. I mean, he's been fantastic here in the playoffs, but unrestricted free agent, you just never know. How weird would that be to see him in another jersey?
I think that'd be really weird. Yeah,
like Brady in a Bucks jersey.
Yeah. It feels like it would. I think Bergeron finishes his career in Boston. That would look weird to me. Having him on another team, and he's still playing at a pretty high level.
He really is. Yeah, we got a shot prop last night. He didn't hit the score sheet for us. We had a Pasternak assist, which kind of helped us out, but we did have the Bruins force in the 7th. All right, enough hockey talk. We came here to hear you talk about the NFL, fantasy football drafts, and like I said, your fades are on the website, ftnfantasy.com, the high-stakes package. Check it out. Absolutely worth your time. I see you all the time in the Discord giving people advice, rolling through some of your drafts, right? Kind of like just, this is what I liked about my draft, this person fell, maybe change your strategy a little bit. What's the biggest fade for you? I know that's a kind of loaded question. You have a lot. I don't want to give everything away. I want people to check out the package. It's amazing. But who's the guy for you as of right now? We're here in mid-May. Who's the guy for you that you were just crossing off your list, the biggest one?
I mean, I have a lot of big names on my fade list, and it's not done purposely for clicks or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I'm going to look pretty foolish fading some of these big names, and then they turn out to, have a great season. There's a reason behind each one, but I'd probably say that Keenan Allen is one of the fades that probably doesn't make sense to people or is going to perplex them a little bit, because for the last 5 years, you want to talk about consistency. You're talking about, 100 receptions, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns for Keenan is probably his average, right? For 5 years in a row. The reason for the fade on him, although he looks like such a great, consistent, target pick in the 3rd round in drafts, is that the eye test, again, there's really no stats to back it up, because he ended up having a good season last year. He looked like he was having trouble separating from coverage. He's a year older. He's now 30. I like to bail on players as they approach that 30-year-old mark, and kind of focus on the younger guys in the NFL. So That's my reason. It's not anything scientific really on Allen. So he could totally go out there, put up another 100 receptions and 1,000 yards on the board and make the fade look silly. So that's one guy that I think is kind of like a big name.
Yeah, oh, definitely a big name. And George, if you want to chuck that up, I want to give people another look at the NFBC or the NFC ADP at 30, wide receiver 12, min pick of 25, max of 38. You're right. He has been consistent. You see the ranks there on the side, top 10 in targets and receptions. Never really a big touchdown guy. The A dot. These are some free tools over at ftndaily.com. 30% of his team's air yards last year, 25% target share, and the 8.34 A dot ranked 72nd among wide receivers with 50 targets. So not a big A dot guy, and overall did finish as wide receiver 14 points per game, and on the season in a half-point setting. Of course, the NFC high stakes, a full point setting in there. Are you out on the Chargers offense? Like Herbert is a guy that I feel you'll have to spend a top pick on. I do like Palmer as a potential breakout, but I don't know how much consistency we could get. Mike Williams had a good season, Nelson last year, and then kind of cooled off towards the end of the season. The Chargers are drafting running backs every single year. I think Austin Eckler still has something to offer. But man, what a wild offseason and what a wild turnaround in that division.
Yeah, no, for sure. The Chargers offense is kind of like, it's that sexy offense, right? You got Justin Herbert, young stud quarterback, looks great. I have nothing against him. It's more of just feel, I have a feeling Herbert's going off the board as a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah, it's rich.
And I want to say last night I did an NFFC draft at online championship, and he went number 2 behind Josh Allen.
Wow.
And I want to say it was right at the 3-4 turn. I'm at that price, I'm out on Herbert. So I put him on my fade list. He's a guy that I just don't see myself. I'm going to have zero exposure to him this year if that's what his price is going to be. I much rather, push it back and find a quarterback that I think will come close, if not surpass his stats, rather than, burning a 3rd or 4th round pick on Herbert.
George, I don't know if you have the quarterback targets from yesterday when we had Josh Larkey on here. Now, this is best ball. It's a whole nother conversation. So Josh Allen, 23rd on ADP, Kyler in there at 57. I totally agree with you, by the way, Sousa, when it comes to Justin Herbert as that price of the second quarterback off the board that early. Give me a running back or an elite wide receiver at that point. Wilson now in Denver at 76. Derek Carr is a guy that I kind of like, man. I'm not going to lie. I've liked him over the past couple of years. I think he's serviceable. Now you got Devontae Adams. Do they keep Darren Waller? You got Hunter Renfrow in the slot. Couple running backs that can catch it to the backfield. I know people are hard on Jacobs, but he can catch a couple. And then they got Kenyon Drake in there as well. Talk to me about Hurts and also the Eagles offense. I feel like there's a couple wide receivers here that have changed teams. Andrew Ford's calling it right now with Tyreek Hill. I feel like A.J. Brown, is it fair to say that, that what he's been doing over the past couple of years with the Titans is just, I don't know if he's going to get that kind of workload in Philadelphia, even though it is a run-heavy team. But he was the guy there last year and the year before. Are you in on A.J. Brown in this Eagles offense?
No, he's on the fade list without giving too many guys away for free.
Yeah.
He's another guy on the list. And, I look at it as the A.J. Brown trade to Philadelphia was more of a good NFL move in terms of real football versus fantasy football. Because I look at A.J. Brown, he's going from one low pass volume offense to another low pass volume offense. And now it's a new offense. He's got to build a rapport with Hurts. And, it's not like you're really getting a discount on A.J. Brown. He's still going, late 2nd, 3rd round of drafts. And for me, like a lot of the purpose behind the fade list is trying to avoid those landmines in the early rounds. Like there's no point in me, listing a bunch of receivers that go after the 10th round. Like those guys are not going to hurt you if they bust. That's not going to hurt your team. So I'm looking more for the early round guys that you're investing, high draft capital, and they end up not underperforming their ADP. So AJ Brown's another guy that, you know, I I like him. I think he's got a lot of talent, but again, I just, and I worry a little bit too about the knees. He
Yeah.
didn't look super explosive last year. He's had trouble with his knees the last couple of years. Had some scopes and surgery on them. I'm out the first year, and one of my rules actually through the years has been that when a wide receiver goes to a new team, new offense the first year, I tend to fade them. Now, with that said, this year it seems like 90% of the NFL receivers have changed teams
Yeah.
this year. So it's kind of hard to fade all those wide receivers. So I kind of have to pick and choose, and I'm going to choose a guy that's going to a low pass volume offense.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that one too. Not that I don't agree with the Keenan, but I mean, you're super intelligent, and I think what you said really does hammer home with me is that you want to be out the year before, right? I mean, you hear people say with Derrick Henry, when is that year going to happen? Maybe it was last year with the foot towards the end. You didn't have him towards the end of the season. You want to be out the year before. And Keenan's a terrific player, but moving over from Tennessee to Philadelphia, I don't think the volume is going to be there. George, one more time here with this board and just take a look at some of the air yards. Like 45% of his team's air yards, it's not going to happen in Philly. It's just not, right? You got Smith in there. You got Dallas Goedert. It's a team that likes to run the rock, tuck and run for Jalen Hurts. I just don't think that is, and that was one of the highest marks in the NFL last season. So I just don't think he gets there. He could get 23% of the target share, 24, 25. I could certainly see that, but overall, from a points per game standpoint, wide receiver 24 and 32 on the season. There was one thing I wanted to address. Oh, maybe that's why the Titans didn't pony up like $100 million on AJ because of the knees. It's possible.
I mean, that was your homegrown guy that you drafted. He's very young, so you're talking about in the prime of his career, and you decided let's just trade him away. It wasn't like a Tyreek situation where Tyreek little bit up there in age. Okay, he's been around. I want to say, is Tyreek like 29?
I think so.
About to turn 29 or is 29.
Mm-hmm.
So, AJ Brown, younger, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, a lot of these wide receivers have changed teams this year, which is the craziest offseason I can remember. But maybe that speaks to something that the Titans didn't want to, like you said, they didn't want to pony up and give him that big contract because they looked at it as like he was damaged goods.
How far would Tyreek Hill need to fall for you to be like, you know what? I'll just do it. Everybody's seen the video. Everyone's seen it. I don't know, man. Miami tweets it from their account. They tweet a video of Tua clearly underthrowing Tyreek Hill. There's a couple things here. Well, the guys are in shorts, whatever. Early day in May. Tyreek's very fast. There's going to have to be some adjustments, of course. There's been Patrick Mahomes is underthrown him before. It's going to happen. But the talk of Tua, the hate, the slander, everything, this guy's not going to be good for his game. He's got no deep ball, yada, yada. I'm going to ask you that question. How far would he have to fall for you to be like, you know what? I'm in. I'll take it. I'll take the upside pick here. Or are you just completely out? I know we don't want to give away too much, but Tyreek is another guy that's going to be a polarizing player come draft time.
I'm going to have lower exposure to Tyreek this upcoming season. But with that said, I do want to add that I do think the video is a little bit overblown.
Totally.
It is, although kind of funny and ironic how everyone's loves to pick on Tua and the whole can't, the arm strength, can't throw it deep. Now you get Tyreek, and look at this video, he underthrows Tyreek. That's kind of the running joke. But even though I'm going to be pretty much out on Tyreek this year, I do think the video is a little overblown because I think they brought in Tyreek, and it's going to be a lot more passes closer to the line of scrimmage. I don't think that the coaching staff is just going to have him running go routes on the outside and having Tua try to launch these bombs like Mahomes. That's not his skill set. And although he has pretty good deep ball accuracy, he's not. I mean, he doesn't have the arm strength to get the ball out there. So, I for me, Tyreek would need to fall probably like third round. And I mean, I'm a volume player. I do so many teams that I'll take a guy at the right price if he's a talented player. So I'm never gonna say,
Right.
I'm
You're
never
completely
drafting
out.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
You
would
gotta
probably
have
be
a
like
share.
around third round.
Yeah.
I just like some other receivers, in his range.
I agree. I'm a big volume guy too, and I don't know how much of it he's going to get. I mean, Tua didn't throw the ball too much last year in terms of like a per game standpoint, and you got Waddle in there, Gesicki, a couple. It sounds. I mean,
Look
they
at
got
all
like
the running
100
backs.
running. I was just gonna say they
Yeah.
got like 100 running backs now. Well, they just signed Sony Michel. They got Michelle and Gaskin on the squad. They got Raheem Mostert on the squad. Chase Edmonds. Are you kidding me? One of these guys is gonna get cut. It's wild.
And
But
listen, and sorry to interrupt, but
no.
you
Anytime.
you got to look at the coaching tree, and that's not to say that he can't switch from what the 49ers and what Shanahan was doing, but listen, I don't think all of a sudden you bring in Tyreek and you got Waddle and it's just going to be this 60% passing offense. I still think that it's going to be closer to 50-50, if not skewed more to the run game.
I agree.
This offseason. I'm not feeling it this year.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel over in Miami, who ran the offense for San Fran. I guess Shanahan ran a little bit of it himself, of course. But I guess if that offense does come over, if it's similar, and that's what Raheem Mostert said himself, that he was going to be used very similar to how he was used in San Fran, and just kind of getting the ball out quick and open space to some of these guys that are great after the catch, like Waddle and Tyreek Hill. It'll be interesting to see how that offense, they're certainly an improved team, and they've spent a lot of draft capital over the past couple seasons to get those two wide receivers and have Tua there under center. So it's a big season for Tua to see if he can answer some of those critics. Dude, hang on one more segment if you can. I want to get one more fade out of you. One more fade, maybe a running back. And since we're talking about all these, fades, and we don't want to be so negative on these players, and I know I could hear it in your voice, like, I like Keenan Allen. I think he's really good. I'm just out. I do want to get one player before you get out of here that you do like, or maybe that you've drafted a couple times. So think about that between the commercial break. We'll be back here on Mean Streets. Keep her locked.